African Linda Tucker.
We were surrounded by the lions at night and in a state of terrible panic, like prey in an open butcher shop. It was terrifying and there was no way out of that situation.
Suddenly, out of the darkness, a human form appears. A local tribeswoman fearlessly walks through the hostile lions. She's a Shangaan medicine woman, known in these parts as Maria Koza, the Lion Queen of Timbavati. She will lead Linda and the group to safety. The experience is a life-changing event for Linda Tucker. It prompts her to leave her busy advertising career in London and return to Timbavati and the Shangaan tribe.
And I just gave it all up one day and returned to find Maria. And she introduced me to the mysteries behind the white lions, the Shangaan myths and legends that make them sacred.
Armed with a master's degree in medieval symbolism from Cambridge University, Linda seeks out African elders to teach her their ancient knowledge. One of these elders is the Shangaan medicine woman who rescued her in 1991, Maria Koza. While Linda is learning the ancient folklore of her native land, she finds herself on a compelling journey to protect the white lion. Maria and the Shangaan tribe believe that white lions are the sacred spirits of their ancient kings, which must be protected at all costs. In Maria's own words, if you harm the white lion, you harm the land. If you kill the white lion, you kill the land. White African lions are the result of a genetic mutation. In Timbavati, lions carry a recessive gene that lessens the brown pigment in their coats. When both male and female parents carry this gene, there's a chance they'll have white cubs. In Shangaan folklore, these rare white lions have occurred in the Timbavati region for centuries. But during the past 3 decades, white lions have been removed from Timbavati and placed as curiosities in zoos and wildlife parks across the globe. At present, there are about 500 captive white lions. None have been seen in the wild in several years, and no one knows whether they'll be seen again in Timbavati. It's an area which has had very little human intervention and supports an abundance of wildlife. The Shangaan tribe hopes to see white lions back here. Jose Kosa, the nephew of Linda's teacher Maria, is the tribe's chief.
The white lion should return to Timbavati. It belongs here with us, and it's an important part of our culture. It is a sacred animal that is part of our ancient wisdom.
It's the new millennium, and Maria throws the ancient bones. She tells Linda that a special white lioness has been born, and it's Linda's duty to find the cub and bring her to Timbavati. Linda hears of a white cub born on Christmas Day in a town called Bethlehem, renowned for breeding lions for the hunting trade. These cubs were taken away from their mothers at birth to be raised for hunting trophies or used to breed further generations of cubs. Linda promises to rescue the little white lioness from this future.
I made a pledge to her that I would not rest until I had returned her to the land that is her birthright, Timbavati.
Linda arranges for adoption rights to the cubs, and she visits her at the camp over the following year. An African shaman names the cub Mara, mother of the sun god. It takes 4 years for Linda to secure Mara's adoption. And by this time, she's already had her first litter of cubs. 2 males, Regius and Letaba, and a female cub, Zyra. Linda's cause has quadrupled, but she remains undaunted. Linda forms the Global White Lion Protection Trust in 2002 and secures land in Timbavati where she can keep Mara and her cubs in a protected habitat.
The white lions have a right to be protected in their own right as animals. And actually much more than that. They are sacred animals according to the Shangaan beliefs. And I frankly support the Shangaan on that.
She enlists the help of Jason Turner, a lion ecologist who's researching the lion prides in Timbavati. Jason studies past lion reintroductions and plans a program which will slowly integrate the 4 lions into a natural environment.
I'm basing their introduction protocol on the principles of the World Conservation Union and what we've learned from past liner introductions. Some scientists believe that past liner introductions have failed because the lions were too habituated or too familiar with humans. In the early liner introductions, the lions were hand-reared, whereas in our protocol, we're going to ensure that there's no human contact unless the lions need to be darted for veterinary purposes.
The goal of the trust is to obtain special protected status for white-colored lions so that future generations of Mara's cubs can live safely in the Timbavati Reserve. To get to that point, Jason will release Mara and her cubs into 2 progressively larger enclosures. In Phase 1, they'll enter a 7.5-acre acclimation boma. In Phase 2, the lions will enter a 741-acre reintroduction area, where they'll learn to hunt for themselves. In Phase 3, Linda hopes to release the offspring of Mara's cubs into the Timbavati Reserve, if white lions are ever granted protected status. By 2005, Linda brings Mara and her cubs to their new home in Timbavati. It's a big moment.
It's just extremely emotional because it's been such a long battle. And it's something that should have come so easily because the lions have a right to exist here.
The young family awakes in the acclimation boma. Compared to their sparse, captive environment, the African landscape is alien and hostile. The white lions are finally home, and Phase 1 begins. The project has attracted a lot of media attention. But Linda has also attracted criticism from the scientific community. Many scientists, like Paul Funston of the African Lion Working Group, believe conservation efforts should address the whole lion population, rather than focusing only on lions that happen to be white.
In the Timbavati system, we know that the genes for these white lions probably still exist. And whether we really need to worry about, facilitating and artificially contriving a situation where these lions are back in the wild versus investing our energies and time, etc., in conserving lions at a greater sort of global scale is questionable.
Although Linda's project is well-intentioned, the entire African lion population is vulnerable. Her greatest challenge will be convincing her critics that white-colored lions should be singled out for protection. Mara and her cubs acclimatize to their new lifestyles in Phase 1 of the White Lion Reintroduction Project. They're in an enclosed area which is full of new experiences. even trees are a novelty. But Zaira has already mastered her climbing skills. Full-grown lions find it more difficult to navigate among the branches, and Zaira's bulky brothers are already struggling to get a grip on climbing. During their stay in the acclimation boma, the lions are fed on whole carcasses of native Timbavati prey. Jason and his team try to avoid habituating the lions to humans by feeding them from behind screens in an attempt to minimize visual imprinting.
Since the lions have arrived here, although they were captive bred, we've never approached them on foot and there's been no human contact. Even though they recognize the feed truck, we intentionally chose a vehicle that is not commonly used as a tourist vehicle or for research, so that once the lions are in the greater Timbavati, they won't associate vehicles with feeding.
The project's protocol is rigorous, but there are circumstances Linda and Jason cannot control. For example, lions have an excellent sense of smell and might associate human scent with feeding. The lions are starting to display natural instincts in this new habitat, like competition for food. Lions are highly sociable carnivores, but there's always a healthy scrap at mealtimes. Mara teaches her cubs a lion must always guard its kill. It's a good sign for the next phase of the project, where they'll need to be self-sufficient. While Mara and her 3 cubs adapt to their new environment, Linda's team is prepping a larger enclosure for phase 2 of the project. Enclosed with predator-proof fencing, the 741-acre habitat is where the white lions will learn to hunt live prey. During phase 2, Linda and Jason will need to keep a check on Mara and her cubs to ensure that they are safe and healthy. They decide to fit radio collars on Mara and one of her sons so they can track the pride and monitor their progress in the larger enclosure. But first, the lions need to be darted with a sedative. To distract the lions, Jason provides them with a carcass.
1, 2, 3. This guy, yeah, he's the guy we're going to collar.
He assists the vet and keeps essential research logs for the reintroduction project. The lions are sedated and the team gets to work. The 2 collars have been specially made for Mara and her son Lataba.
Just grab her head.
It's about 12 rays from the head.
I just want to show you his paw. Like that's the size of the paw. It gives you an idea of how big it's going to be.
Jason takes blood samples. He hopes to find a genetic marker showing that white lion